Okay, so if you've ever worked anywhere near accounts payable, you know what I'm talking about. That literal mountain of invoices that can just pile up. Today, we're going to dive into how technology is completely changing that, moving teams from all that tedious manual work to what's known as touchless processing.
So here's the plan. First, we're going to break down exactly what's wrong with the old school manual approach. Then, we'll get into the cool tech that's changing the game. After that, we'll look at the very real benefits. And finally, we'll look ahead at what this all means for the future of AP.
All right, let's start with the pain points. Why is the traditional way of handling invoices just so, fundamentally broken for any modern business?
I mean, this is the core question, right? It kind of seems obvious, but when you have people doing the same repetitive task again and again, you're just bound to hit slowdowns. And of course, simple human error. It's inevitable.
Just think about the sheer effort involved here. For every single invoice, a person has to physically read it, hunt around for the key pieces of info, double check that they're right, and then type it all into a system by hand. It's this whole multi-step dance for every single document that comes in.
And the results are exactly what you'd expect. The whole process is painfully slow, it's a total breeding ground for typos and mistakes, and if you want to scale up, well, that just means hiring more people to do the exact same manual work. And on top of all that, invoices show up in every format you can imagine. Paper, PDFs, scans, you name it, making any kind of consistency a real nightmare.
But enough about the problem. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. Let's see how technology offers up a modern and, frankly, a much smarter way to do things. So, at its heart, automated invoice capture is pretty much what it sounds like. It's all about using smart tech to do the heavy lifting. Reading the invoices and pulling out all the important information so your team doesn't have to. And we're talking about everything. The system is smart enough to find all the critical stuff: the vendor's name, the invoice number, all the key dates, the amounts, and it even gets down to the nitty-gritty details like individual line items and PO numbers. So how does this magic actually work? Well, it starts with something called OCR, or optical character recognition, which basically just turns a picture of an invoice into text. But the real secret sauce is the AI and Intelligent Document Processing, or IDP. That's the part that actually understands the context and the layout to pull the right information with amazing accuracy.
And here's what's so important. It's not just about grabbing the data. The system also acts like a security guard at the gate. It runs automatic checks to catch missing info or weird numbers, stopping bad data in its tracks before it can ever mess up your workflow.
Okay, so that brings us to the payoff. What happens when you actually make this switch? What are the real-world results? Let me tell you, the impact is huge.
I mean, what you're really doing is creating a process that is just fundamentally better in every single way. This isn't some small tweak. We're talking about a system that's way faster, way more reliable, and just lets the overall efficiency of your AP team go through the roof.
And when you look at the numbers, it becomes crystal clear. You're slashing the amount of manual work, you're speeding up the entire AP cycle, and you're making sure your data is clean right from the get-go. And that bump in compliance, that comes from having a perfect digital audit trail for every invoice, which makes audit season so much less painful.
And you've got to remember, getting the data in right is just the beginning. It's the foundation. Because when you start with clean, accurate data, it creates this positive ripple effect. Every single step that comes after, matching invoices to POs, getting approvals, actually making the payments, all of it becomes so much smoother and faster.
So, all of this is leading us to a much bigger idea. This isn't just about patching up an old process. No, this is about moving toward a completely new, way more ambitious future for AP.
This quote here really gets to the heart of it. The ultimate goal, the end game, is to get to touchless processing, a world where an invoice can come in and flow through the entire system without a single person ever having to manually intervene.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple. This kind of automation isn't just a quick fix. It is the absolute foundational building block you need to create a truly modern, efficient, and eventually an autonomous finance department.
And that really brings us to the final question you have to ask yourself. When you really look at your own process, all the time wasted on manual entry, all the little errors that slip through, it's pretty clear that the future is automated. The only real question left is, are you ready for it?